We had a major issue on the production line earlier this week, so the entire development package for this weekend has failed. Check your workstation for the details.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2018 career Mode, episode number 19 today for the Mexican Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the previous one, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But we come into this episode, annoyingly, with another part failed on our car. The drag reduction update that we purchased at the end of last episode has failed, which is even more annoying at Mexico. Obviously, a long main straight there where the drag reduction would have come in handy quite a bit for the slipstream effect. And obviously, you've got that kind of weird thing of Mexico, because the track's actually so high up in the ground, the air is a lot thinner, so you actually end up wanting to run more downforce just to actually get that grip in Sector 2, which is quite technical, but then you also don't want to kind of have yourself kind of just a sitting duck on the straight. So it's going to be a difficult one. Mexico's always been a very challenging one. For myself, I've never gone too well around there, and tyre wear's always been notorious around here, so we'll have to watch out for that. But you can see on the chart, actually, things are looking still rather close, and Red Bull have actually on paper got ahead of Mercedes, so Mercedes now are officially the third fastest team there on actual pure performance on the numbers, and you can see us with Haas, we're very close to them. It's pretty much nothing in it between from Red Bull, Merc and Haas, actually, so very exciting times, actually, with a bit of a gap to McLaren then, but they're still going well, and there might be someone to contend with potentially, depending on how the strategy goes out. But let's go into practice then and see how we go firstly in that, and then we'll move on for the rest of the weekend.
Welcome to Mexico, where we start the weekend with Friday practice. This session will give us a good indication of just who has the upper hand for qualifying tomorrow. I'm here with Anthony Davidson once again. Nice to see you, Ant, and I wanted to ask you about how you go about improving the car over the course of a practice session. How much would you say is already known from the pre-race simulations, and how much do you have to do, how much do you have to work on with a real car on a real circuit?
Well, that's a good question, Crofty, and I suppose the simple answer is that there's no such thing as too much information. As you say, the bigger teams have very complex simulations, vast numbers of clever people crunching the numbers back at base, but what they can't tell you is stuff like how the track condition's going to be, or what the temperature's going to be doing over the course of the day, and how all of that's going to be interacting with the tyre. There are so many millions of tiny variables involved in getting these cars around a racetrack quickly, but the computer can't tailor the car to a driver's specific balance requirements. At some point, you still need to put a human being in there and have them feel it through the seat of their pants. And that's why we end up with different drivers having different setups. So what I'm trying to say is, Crofty, nothing beats on-track testing.
Friday practice, the usual practice programs going through. That's no fuss at this point of the career mode now, kind of getting comfortable with doing all the practice programs, but definitely tyre wear is going to be of an issue, I feel, for the race once again. It's so hard to drive smoothly around this circuit. You can see how much the car is wobbling left to right as you try and wrestle it through Sector 2 with that compromised downforce, so that's going to be something that's going to be tricky, and the strategy may be something to look into. But at the same time, you may have seen actually just before we got to the practice portion, there is maybe some rain forecast for the end of Sunday, so that'll be something to watch out for. But let's head into Saturday then for qualifying and see how we do there.
Welcome back to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez circuit, where qualifying will begin shortly. And I'm here, of course, with Anthony Davidson on what has turned out to be a very pleasant day indeed. No weather to interfere, no problems on the track, so absolutely no room for error.
That's right, Crofty. It's looking good out there at the moment. Each team will have their own game plan for this session, and of course, once the cars leave the garage, they'll be under parc fermé conditions, so any last-minute adjustments need to be done right here and now. Beyond that, it's all up to the driver. Who can keep their tyres in the right temperature, who can hit their apexes. No race fuel on board these days, of course. These are the fastest cars we've had in a long time, and it's right here in qualifying where they're at their absolute peak. Let's get started.
Q1 then on hyper soft tyres here, so not taking any chances on the ultra soft tyres. It's hypers, ultras and super soft, so there's no major leap and bound between the tyre compounds, but still don't want to take the risk completely, because I wasn't really too sure how we're going to go in practice. It wasn't really a representative kind of pace run there in the practice programs, etc. So going through the last corner, getting held up a little bit by Hartley through Sector 2, that was, with some dirty air as he comes in the pit lane, but we go across the line, and nonetheless it's a better time than I did in terms of relative to my teammate than was the case back at the USA Grand Prix, so I was at least happy with that. P7 Magnussen once again being really strong in Q1. Obviously it's a lot of teams, the top teams will run the middle compound at tyre, so that's why Magnussen's maybe hopping up. But consistently, he shows up really well in Q1. And now we're here on flying lap in Q2, and again, maybe some potential traffic ahead with Pierre Gasly now, the one in the Toro Rosso. Again, it's a Toro Rosso that maybe gives us a bit of dirty air in Sector 2. It depends on how much we catch him in this sector. So you go left and then right over the curbings, and it's very tricky. You want to kind of let the car just roll through almost before you put the power down for this right and then left. The faster you can go through that right left, the more time you're going to gain then onto the slingshot. And you can see here the slingshots work so well that we overtake Gasly on our qualifying lap. Big lock up though on the front right tyre. That's not going to be great, because obviously if we're into Q3, that's going to be our starting set of tyres for the race here. But we're right at the death of the session, 1 minute to go, so this is my one and only attempt then in Q2. So like I said, did leave it late, but we'll see how it goes across the line, and it's going to be P11 only, and that will be us out of Q2. Magnussen though only got in P9, so it looks like our car for some reason is not actually performing around Mexico, which is really weird. But also at the same time, I don't know, kind of like why I wanted almost in a way to pick Haas in a way, because in real life Haas are kind of like that. In real life they kind of flip-flop around, you know. They're way up at the beginning of the season in real life, then we're way down here at Monaco, then came back up for Silverstone here and there and everywhere really. And it looks like in a game it's kind of like that almost here, because from USA to Mexico we've gone from being right there pressurizing Red Bull to in Q2 at least I'm out of it, and Magnussen's only got in by P9. You can see the difference between mine and Magnussen's lap times, not that much actually. I literally only needed to find a couple of tenths, if that, and I would have been through. So a little bit disappointing, but at the same time that does technically open us up for strategy wise, in terms of we can choose whatever tyre we want. So let's take a bit of silver lining in that, and let's go forward into the race intro then before we get into the race.
The air may be thin here in Mexico City, the atmosphere is anything but. The crowd have been chanting and singing, not just this afternoon, but throughout the entire weekend. There's a great love for Formula One here, and no small amount of expectation. Let's hope today's Grand Prix can meet it. We're a long way above sea level here in Mexico today, which could pose some cooling issues for the cars as they make their way around this 2.6-mile lap. 17 corners with top speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and watch out for potential overtaking into turns 1 and 4. Anthony Davidson is alongside me as usual for the race today. Let's talk briefly about Marcus Ericsson. There's a new gearbox in the back of that car, which means a grid penalty, and hopefully some excitement as they make their way through the field.
Well, at the end of the day, it's always better to take some pain now than parking it up halfway through the Grand Prix. Let's just hope they can put that new gearbox to good use and get the results they're looking for.
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and Kimi Raikkonen completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Verstappen, Fernando Alonso and Magnussen. Hamilton, they've taken a grid penalty. Van Dorn, the engineer, and Daniel Ricciardo. Ocon, Perez, Nico Hülkenberg, and Stroll, Hartley, Sainz, Pierre Gasly, and Charles Leclerc. Sirotkin and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So thanks to some penalties for Daniel Ricciardo, I move up into P9. Then at the start of the grid, you would have seen with the starting sequence, and Magnussen actually moves up to P6 with Alonso P5 as we get underway for the 5 red lights. So a bit of a jigged up top 10 then, and we still have free choice here. You saw at the moment, I actually start by thinking of maybe starting on Ultras, going to Super Softs, and you can see that I'm experimenting with how far the Supers can go mathematically there to see if we can pull off a one-stop. But then I have a look at the entire grid, and pretty much everyone, apart from maybe 2 others, are going for Hypersoft. So it seems like actually that's just a conventional way, and it's leaning towards a definite 2-stop for everyone. And if that's the case, I don't want to be caught out with trying some bonkers 1-stop strategy. Plus, there's also the chance of rain. So I thought I'll play on the safe side. I'll go with what everyone else is doing, and I'll play by the ear like we have done a couple other times, and we'll see. I think that'll leave us a bit more flexible than it would have been if I started an Ultra. So here we go then. As we go to 5 red lights then for the Mexican Grand Prix. Round number 19 of this season is underway. 36 laps ahead of us, and it's a slow start there in second and third gear. bogged down. The Force Indias are flying now at the moment there. You've got Perez on my right-hand side. Ocon is trying maybe also at the same time to go up my inside on the right. We're just sticking to the left here, maybe trying to find a way around the outside of all of them as we do so on Perez. And you've got a whole gaggle of cars. You've got 3x3 there. And so you've got the two Ferraris trying to go toe-to-toe with Valtteri Bottas. Hamilton in the mix in the middle, going toe-to-toe with Alonso. We've got the better of Max Verstappen, and our teammate Magnussen has been caught up in all that chaos on the inside of turn 1 and the outside of turn 2, and he's been pushed way down there, and he's only now re-overtaking, or trying to re-overtake Verstappen. Meanwhile, you've got Alonso. Look at that. Well, Fernando Alonso is flying there in the McLaren. Around the outside he's gone on the double right-hander, and he's done the Iceman. Alonso up into 3rd place of the Mexican Grand Prix in his McLaren Renault, ahead of Raikkonen and ahead of Hamilton. What about that? Absolutely amazing from P5 on the grid. Really good stuff there from Fernando Alonso. Meanwhile, it's Bottas that leads the way, it looks like, on the minimap, from Sebastian Vettel. So Vettel will want to try and get on the back of him, of course, for the sake of his championship fight. Although as we get closer to the end of the season, Hamilton is looking more likely to get the championship this season in Season 1 of our F1 2018 career mode. But talking about Hamilton then, he's trying to look at the back of maybe Raikkonen and Alonso as they go side by side. But he's caught napping here a little bit into the first few corners there. A little bit of contact, sparks flying away. But nonetheless, he's been put off there, and he's having to shove us a little bit on the right-hand side and get the elbows out there. Hamilton is so Brit v Brit around the outside of our fellow countryman. Can we make this work? We're going to try it there. We are alongside him. We've got the, oh my god, Hamilton squeezes. We had the right to send a move down the inside there because we're well alongside him. And now on the double right-hander with his stadium section on the left-hand side, the crowd going wild as they see two cars going side by side, neck and neck there. And we do get Hamilton. He's not going to make a move down the inside that apex, and so we're up into P5 then. And we've got a lot of clean air now ahead of us on the minimap. You can see, as a result of me and Hamilton fighting there. And speaking about that fight ahead of us, Raikkonen v Fernando Alonso, old Ferrari teammates here, and Raikkonen around the outside of turn 1, but Alonso is putting up such a great defensive fight here. But you would say eventually the Ferrari should be able to get Alonso. Alonso's AI is very, very good on this year's game, but I don't know if it's quite that good to fight the Ferrari quite yet, because the McLaren, it's improved for sure this season, but it's not quite there on paper to match the Ferrari yet. If anything, the Haas team, us, myself and Magnussen, our car's a little bit closer to the Ferrari than the McLaren is, and so Raikkonen does overtake Alonso eventually. He's up into 3rd place. Vettel still trails Bottas in 2nd place there, with the fin of Bottas in 1st still from the get-go on lap 1. But Alonso's not actually falling too back behind Raikkonen, so we'll see how that goes. We move on to the next lap now, lap number 4, and Alonso is now trying to re-overtake Raikkonen. This is so we might be able to catch maybe Alonso or Raikkonen off guard if they're fighting so hard. If they're just not looking behind themselves, then I could get in the mix here as Alonso gets squeezed out, and they both lost a lot of time here. So can we make a move? We've got DRS here. Not sure if Alonso is going to try and move on Raikkonen, but we'll try on the outside then, the left-hander, but that will actually turn into the inside, like with Hamilton's move. So here we go. Will Alonso squeeze us? Equally so. But that time round, we weren't alongside him enough, like with Hamilton, to keep my car in there. So I had to back out of that. Otherwise, Alonso, I'm pretty sure he would have completely chopped us off circuit there. So we just stay back for now in P5, and Alonso remains P4. But you can see how much time we're all losing now fighting each other as the gap is extending and extending to Sebastian Vettel and Bottas. And now on lap 5, Hamilton comes and overtakes us, and to be fair, I just let him go at this stage because I feel like maybe, my fight's not really with Hamilton technically at this point in the race. It's with Alonso, and if I want to get Alonso, I think I may need to try and use Hamilton to pull me along to get Alonso. We'll have to see about that. But as we move on to lap 6, Hamilton's going to try and move on Alonso, and so this may be the chance to try it then. But Alonso, to be fair to him, comes back really well. And look at this, Alonso and Hamilton here going side by side, fighting each other in Mexico, just like they did, remember, in 2017 when Hamilton, got sent to the back after the contact with Vettel in real life. We saw this exact fight there, and now it's happening in the game. And look at that, a big old lock-up there from Alonso, big lock-up to keep it down the inside there, and he's really wanting to keep this position now, and it's great to see two titans of F1 going at it and hammer and tong, and Hamilton gets squeezed out, and now we'll re-overtake Hamilton. So, sorry Hamilton, I gave you my chance. I gave you a really good chance of trying to overtake Alonso. You didn't make it work, and Alonso's pushed you off, and so it's my turn to try again. So we overtake Hamilton. We'll stick with it here and try and close back up to Alonso, but now that just might have been enough for me to get away from Hamilton, I should say. And also there with Alonso now, he might have deployed all his ERS fighting Hamilton. So now onto the main straight, I might have a really good run. You can see there on the bottom right, I've got a good amount of ERS left. I've got some fuel to burn as well, so we'll pop this up into rich mix, and we'll go up the ERS order then, and with DRS, we should also be able to, you know, make this pass, you'd say. Obviously, back at USA, we made the same pass on Alonso very easily without even using much ERS, and the same thing here is just with DRS, the Ferrari and the Haas v the Renault and the McLaren, no match for him, and we're able to overtake him very, very easily. Didn't have to use that much ERS power there. Alonso does come back at us though into turn 1, but we do squeeze him out, and so now Alonso might have to now defend against Hamilton rather than attack me there. Look at that. Hamilton does get him, so Hamilton now is straight up into P5. He might even fancy an attack on me. Let's see, we're going to move to the inside there, going to force him on the right-hand side, go the long way around, and we're going to be able to strap the car, go a little bit deep on purpose, and squeeze him out there, and so we're going to remain in P4, and actually as I look behind me, Alonso's got him, and now actually I think that's Max Verstappen who's attacking Hamilton, so my defensive work was so good on Hamilton there that he got squeezed out completely, and now he's side by side with the Dutchman, so the Dutchman down the inside, Verstappen, can he hold it on the outside then for the next corner? Doesn't look like it, but they all lose a lot of time to the point where the Force Indies are right up their chuff. But as we now move on to the end of lap 7, on to lap 8, we've now got some pit stops there. It looks like it's going to be Raikkonen in and Bottas in, so Vettel now leads the way. We're going to move on one more lap onto the end of that one, onto lap 9, and now Vettel will come in, and so we'll actually lead the Mexican Grand Prix. But I'm just going a little bit longer than the rest of the guys, because the theory is if I go a little bit longer, I'm going to feel better on the other tyres I'm on. And also, to be fair, look at that on the right hand side, the tyre wear is not too bad. I didn't feel like I needed to come in. The AI, I don't know, to my surprise, the AI were maybe feeling a bit more tired than I was, because I was feeling fine until that lap here, and so we're in. Although I was feeling fine, the delta time, the actual pace that I had may have not been great, because I think you're about to see perhaps I should have come in a little bit earlier, because I might get undercut here, because we go into ultra soft tyres, so we are going to try this two-stop, hypers to ultra, and then there's the caveat of there might be some rain at the end. There's no guarantee, but there was apparently some rain forecast. But as we come out now in the pit lane, Alonso's back past us, as well as my teammate Magnussen. Remember, we forgot about Magnussen. We didn't even see Magnussen after lap 1. He got squeezed out down to like P9, I think, but he's jumped everyone here. Myself, Alonso, I think he's even jumped Hamilton, because I think Hamilton's behind me at the moment, and he's also jumped the likes of Ricciardo and Verstappen there. So Magnussen, I think he pit around lap 6, I think it was, so 3 laps before me, or 4 laps before some others, and so he did a great job at getting a major undercut. Of course though, that might bite him back there, because later on in this race now, he'll have higher tyre wear than we will at the end of our stints. But meanwhile, we're fighting Fernando Alonso here, trying to re-overtake him effectively. Down the inside of turn 2, but Alonso turns into us, makes some contact there, and so he's really getting the elbows out. He's quite weird into turn 1, Alonso, because he broke a little bit earlier than me, and then kind of went a little bit wayward, and then kind of gave me the room into turn 2. And now as we move on into the end of sector 1, down the inside, a bit of a fake to the right, then to the left, lock up on the left front. We go a little bit too short into the corner, so he switch back, move on him, try and get the other side of the track, and it works out sublimely there, and we're up into P6. Really nice little tango dance there with Fernando Alonso to make that overtake. Bit of a shake and bake, and we got it. And so now we can try and get on the back of our teammate Kevin Magnussen to re-overtake him. And like I said, even now on lap 15, I think he'll feel a little bit more tyre wear than I am. You know, it's early in the stint, but still, it'll still play on his mind. And actually, you can see there with a big lock-up, and it almost smashes the back of him there. I think the pressure's already getting to my teammate, so hopefully we can overtake him soon enough. But for now, he's safe for that one lap. On to the next lap, I think we should get him this time into turn 1. I'm not going to give him the chance to lock up and park the part of the car on the apex there. We're flying with ERS, DRS, and also Rich Mix, and it's going to be a pretty damn easy piss easy pass down the inside actually into turn 1. Nice and easy under brakes. Don't want to lock it up like we did at USA a lot of the time, and so we're up into P5. And so the next car along's Ocon, but he's actually going long on his set of ultras that he's been on the start from the start of the Grand Prix. So he'll come in soon enough on the next lap, I'm pretty sure. And so we'll be up into P4 once again. So the only cars ahead of us are still Raikkonen, Vettel, and Bottas. So we've effectively got back into the position we were in, but you can see what I meant by Magnussen's done a fantastic job to jump Alonso, jump Hamilton, the 2 Red Bull cars, because he was behind all those guys before in the Grand Prix. But now as we move swiftly through the laps, and on stint 2, we're on lap 22 now with 14 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and we're back up into first place as we've got a second round of pit stops for all those guys, and we're just going to keep going as long as we can, and we stretch this to lap 24 because I want to go on to Hypersoft. So you can see here, it's getting overcast, so I think that rain is coming for sure. So I'm going to go into Hypersofts, and then I'm going to bank on us all having to go into Inters. So this way, I'll be on a faster compounded tyre than everyone else. We're in, and you can see on the top left there, Vettel and Bottas both on Super Softs, the hardest tyre compound available. and I think everyone has gone on to super soft. So they've done hyper, ultra, and super. I'm going to go hyper, ultra, hyper again, because I know now, or I don't know, but I'm hoping that the rain is going to come hard enough that we have to change over into It's a bit of a gamble because there was only literally one icon of rain on the weather forecast before this race. So it is a bit of a gamble. You never know. You know, on the F1 game, sometimes it just doesn't rain enough to warrant Inter's tyres. But that's the gamble I'm going to take, because I will be a lot faster right now at this moment in time on these Hypersofts versus these guys, who a lot of them are going to be on 2 steps slower tyre than I am. So I should, in theory, be able to fly past most of these guys. You can see now we're going with the side-by-side mode with the Force India and the Red Bull Verstappen and Ocon here. They slow each other up, but we're going to hopefully overtake Ocon pretty easy now, with DRS also available to us now as we go to the end of Sector 1. We're going to move to the inside there. The Frenchman a little bit reluctant to give us the space there, but we'll still send it down the inside. Nice and easy there. Scrub off the speed on the right-hand side, and we'll get that to the next apex. We're up into P6 now, and now can we try and get Verstappen? Here will be the real test here. You're going to see the difference between Hypersoft tyre and the Supersofts here, because the Red Bull and Haas, you saw there on paper, pretty equally matched cars actually now, you know, on performance, and so now you can see the tyre difference is just coming in clutch for us, and so we're catching up to Verstappen very rapidly through that Sector 2, and you can see the traction and the acceleration was so much better off that slingshot corner, and so now we're trying to go all the way around the outside of him to the inside of the next hairpin in the big stadium section here, the last part of the Mexican Grand Prix, and we are up into 5th place. Next up is Daniel Ricciardo, the other Red Bull racing car, and this time around it's going to be a very easy DRS pass, it looks like, compared to the one with Verstappen in a corner. As we go to the left-hand side now, Ricciardo there, shimmy to the right a little bit there, and made him guess, and so we're up into P4 now, and you can see the amount of grip I have. We're able to take that first apex so easily, and now let's try and see if we can get Raikkonen. So we're back up effectively to where we were before we made the pit stop in P4. Now, anything more than this will be an added bonus and a kind of, you know, result of this strategy. So let's see if we can get the Iceman. And actually, by the time we get to lap 30, 6 laps to go in this Grand Prix, we're actually closing up to Raikkonen. Ricciardo's come with me, actually, so it looks like maybe Raikkonen has just got some bad tyre wear, because me and Ricciardo are catching him at a rate of knots here. And as the rain maybe starts to come down a little, maybe that's affecting him a little bit, you know, some damp patches on the track. Let's see. We'll have DRS here. We'll have a bit of it. We've got a decent amount of ERS actually on high, and we're not going to go on to Rich Mix quite yet, because I want to save that, because I feel like we won't catch him enough to make an overtake right now. You'll see we'll gain and gain and gain. By the time we get to turn 1's break point there, we'll catch right up to his gearbox, but now we're going to set ourselves up now for the next lap, and the next lap will hopefully be the one we overtake him with. So go a little bit low on the ERS, save the fuel as well, and make sure we just stick with him in Sector 2, and then so hopefully on the main straight onto the end of lap 31 onto lap 32, that's where we're able to overtake him, because you can see we're getting so close but just unable to do anything right now due to obviously just the natural grip of the Ferrari. So now as we go through the final few turns once again now, and so onto this next lap, here's where we can maybe do it there. We're a non-ERS, saving all the battery, and now we got yellow flags, and Raikkonen goes slow. He's got an issue, and so we didn't even have to overtake him with ERS there. We just got handed the position. It's a yellow flag, and a virtual safety car is out for Kimi Raikkonen. Wow, okay, I really didn't expect that. That was really unexpected. I was building that up in the commentary as well, as to be a really nice overtake on Raikkonen, you know, building up for 2 laps and setting up the move, and then he just goes and retires from the Grand Prix, it looks like. So Raikkonen, unfortunate, out of this Grand Prix, and so that pretty much gifts Hamilton even more points in the championship. So I feel like for the championship's sake, this is all wrapped up almost in a way, because I can't see Vettel really coming back in the standings. So I think Hamilton's got a good 20 points on Raikkonen in second place. But you can see now, Ricciardo's up into P4. I'm up into P3, but the rain is starting to come down there. You can see a lack of grip as the flag goes green now. We're racing once again. You can see just the oversteer I'm getting, and you can see closely on the chassis and the halo, the droplets are there, and there's rain streaming down my chassis a little bit. So I'm going to say box this lap, and I think personally it's time for intermediates. I don't know about everyone else, but I think it's time for inters. We've got 4 laps to go in this Grand Prix, so quite a late call, but 4 laps on inters is going to be faster than 4 laps on these dry tyres when it starts raining. You can see there now the little droplet of rain on the left hand side just above my left front tyre there, so that's a kind of sign. You can see even more droplets now as as they start to blur the screen, it's definitely time for inters for me. You can see Ricciardo, though, with the downforce of the Red Bull, is still finding a good amount of grip to hound me in the gearbox there, and so he's going to continue on for now. So let's see how this plays out then. We're going to come in on inters. I don't know if the AI are going to come in with me on this next lap. It looks like most of them have stayed out for one more lap, so let's see what kind of advantage we can get, you know? You never know, if they come in one lap and it starts raining quite a lot on this next one, maybe we could even have a chance to, you know, even challenge Bottas and Vettel, dare I say. Let's see how it goes, but we make the pit stop onto inters, and looks like no one is behind me in the pit lane, so that's a little bit worrying. You can see the McLaren continues on, and so we're down to a P11 now, outside the points. We've got 3 laps to go, 4 laps to go, including this one, and we're in P11, and we've got to re-overtake all these cars, and I don't know if they're going to come in or not, because by the time we catch up to Van Dorn here on the end of lap 33, you can see on the minimap, no one is coming in, so I have a feeling maybe everyone else is going to try and risk this and go to the end of the Grand Prix on their dry tyres. It does mean we're going to have a lot of action here, as we're going to try and re-overtake all these cars to get back into minimum our P3 position ahead of Ricciardo, you know, when Raikkonen retired. So we get past Van Dorn then with the traction, obviously, in the straight line as well, using overtake mode on the ERS to get that pass done up into P10. So 1 point paying position there. Let's continue on and try and overtake the rest of the cars. We now move on to Esteban Ocon at the beginning of Sector 2, going very slowly. You can see as the rain continues to come down, these guys are just getting slower and slower. And so this is why I was so surprised that they were still on dry as we go waltzing around the outside of the Frenchman, and it's a very easy pass up into P9, and so we'll get onto his teammate Perez by the end of that lap, on the end of lap 34, down the inside the hairpin, little dive there on the A-base, kind of drifting through almost, and we're up into P8. Next up, Fernando Alonso. Can we get the traction through the last corner? You're about to see, I think, just the amount of time we gain on the exit here, and then on the straight, we'll bump it up into even overtake mode, because we've got a lot of ERS battery saved up there. Overtake mode, obviously, there's no point deploying a lot of ERS in these conditions in Sector 2. May as well try and save it for the straight, where we can actually use it to good effect. So here we go now. It's a straight line pass there. No, obviously, DRS available in these conditions, and also we're low on fuel, so we're just using ERS to make these passes up ahead of Alonso up into P7, and now we'll be trying to re-overtake our teammate there. Hasn't seen us in a while, but you can see how poor he is on the exit of that right-hander, and it's up into P6 now, as we've now got a warning for a collision with Magnussen. I think we just clipped him on the exit, as we got a bit too much traction there, as we've now got 1.5 laps to go, and straight away on the back of Verstappen there, bit of major opposite lock to control the car. A good car control from us, and we're going to go on the inside of Verstappen, nice and easy on the brakes. Don't want to lock up the front tyres, and to the inside of that right-hander, and we're up into P5. Next up, Lewis Hamilton, and then it'll be Daniel Ricciardo, and so now we're going on to the last lap of this Grand Prix. Hamilton goes so wayward in turns 1 and 2. That's such an easy move for me in turns 2 there. It wasn't even an overtake, really, as Hamilton just controlled his car not to spew it off into the distance on the right-hand side of the wall. And then by the end of the last lap of the Grand Prix here, we're getting through to the last sector. In this same area we overtook Verstappen, we're going to catch Ricciardo, and he's going so slow, tiptoeing around there on super softs, and we're up into P3 now. And really, look at where Bottas is on the mini-map there. He's actually just ahead of us on track. You can see there, if you look up ahead, he's just there going through the hairpin. One more lap, and I could have maybe even got Bottas and Vettel, you know. Like 2 more laps, I might have got the race win, but alas, Sebastian Vettel wins it. Bottas in second, and funny enough, anyway, I run out of fuel on the line. But either way, we get back into P3. We had a lot of fun doing it in the last part of that Grand Prix to get another podium here for us at Haas.
Nice work, you did well today. I think the boss will be happy with that one.
So, another excellent win from Ferrari. And Anthony Davidson, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
So, here they come now, out onto the podium. Wherever you go, anywhere in the world, the prancing horse flags are dominant in the grandstands, and they're out in force again today. It's Ferrari on the top step once more.
So a really odd Grand Prix then, you know, got back into third place. We already were in third place, made the pit stop for Inters, and then just had a lot of action and fun, really, to get back into P3. Although, to be fair, I would have rather have had that than kind of trundling around, tiptoeing around with all the AI cars, trying to keep P3 that way. I rather would have done all those overtakes anyway. I had some fun doing it. And like I said, if it was one more lap, I probably would have even caught Bottas even to get P2, and even further laps and would have caught Vettel. But alas, that's just how it goes. But either way, with Raikkonen retiring, though, like I said, in the Drivers' Championship, Hamilton's looking pretty damn comfortable for this championship for the title there. In the Constructors, for our sake, with Haas v Red Bull, Red Bull's still ahead of us by a few points there, but with 3 rounds to go, I think that gap looks plausible. I need Magnussen to do even better than he did this race. He needs to be right up there with me, beating both Red Bull cars as well, but we'll see how it goes then. But we're going to go straight into an interview then. It's been a while since we've had one.
Good day today. Tell us about it from your perspective. Did you have the wrong fuel strategy today, or was it your management?
So obviously I ran out of fuel, actually, quite funny enough, right at the end there, so there's nothing more else to say than just say I got the kind of fuel miscalculated on the rich mix, because that's pretty much, I think, what actually happened to me in the race.
Would you say things between you and your rival got a bit heated
And
today?
obviously the rivalry still continues with myself and Magnussen, but I'm not fussed by him. You know, anything he wants to do, I got it covered, and, you know, he can come at me. So a bit of showmanship there in that last answer.
Great. Well, that's everything.
And so with that, we'll go to the end of the episode then. So another nice podium, 2 podiums in a row now. Like I said, though, we still haven't got that bloody win that Magnussen's got to us at Monaco, but we've definitely got more podiums than him then. So you can see clearly, you know, we're starting to find our groove with the car and actually trying to get it to that point where it is on paper, you know, right alongside Mercedes and Red Bull on the comparison chart there. But we're beating Magnussen still in the rivalry and also Hülkenberg, so hopefully we can finish that off in the next 3 rounds for the end of the season, but making good progress then on the veteran front and also on the showmanship. But finally we have to fix that drag reduction part. We're going to redo that essentially for next race. So Brazil, it'll still come in handy, that drag reduction up the hill. The drag reduction drag will come in handy then, but it was a little bit annoying. Maybe our car would have been even better around here, and who knows, might have even got second place with that drag reduction update. But yeah, I think for now, you know, I talked about that was probably going to be our last spend. We've now refixed that part. Now that's going to be the last spend. We've only got, to be fair, you know, 2 rounds to go now in terms of, you know, we've got Brazil and then Abu Dhabi, so there's not actually long to go until we re-spend these points, but we're going to wait till Abu Dhabi, because then from Abu Dhabi to Australia Season 2, there's no wait time for upgrades, so we'll do final upgrades then at Abu Dhabi. So from now on, just going to store those points in the top right. But guys, if you did enjoy what was a really thoroughly enjoyable Mexican Grand Prix right at the end there with that Inter's conditions v everyone else on dry tyres, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, you can subscribe for weekly Formula content. I've been Alfa. Hope you enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.